After the breakup, my ex-girlfriend posted on social media that I was infertile. I was a 3-second man, so I fought back. I spread rumors at school that her chest was too small, and her feet were fat and smelly. After doing all that, we blocked each other, planning to never see each other again. But unexpectedly, a year later after graduation, I ran into her again, and somehow, we ended up renting the same apartment. I wanted to find a cheap place near my company after graduation, but after searching for a long time, I only found a shared apartment. The landlord said the other tenant was a girl. The space was big. You two could not disturb each other. As a fresh graduate, my left pocket was empty, and my right pocket was also empty. I didn't have a single cent more. After thinking it over, I still rented it. Even if the tenant had 3 heads and 6 arms, or was a monster with 8 tentacles, I would still. But after entering, I realized I had thought too simply. This girl was way scarier than an 8-tentacled monster. This girl was clearly my ex-girlfriend from a year ago. But at that moment, I still refused to believe it was such a coincidence. She stared at me intensely. For a moment, the living room fell into dead silence. The next second, we both tentatively called each other's names. Song Yaoji, Ji Yanlin. There was 3 seconds of silence. Then we both exclaimed at the same time, "Why are you here?" Then I immediately backed out quietly and closed the door. I double-checked the apartment number, then looked at the key in my hand. I opened the door again, thinking I must have entered the wrong way. This time, I stepped in with my left foot first, but I still saw Song Yaoji's cold, pretty face. At that moment, I thought I was dreaming, but I still tentatively said, "You look a lot like my ex-girlfriend." Song Yaoji frowned upon hearing that. She stood up and shouted at me, "I am your ex-girlfriend, pretending not to know me? I would recognize you even if you turned to ashes." I shook my head and waved my hand. "Impossible, absolutely impossible. Shouldn't you be going to the underworld?" Song Yaoji didn't speak. She originally thought I was going to the underworld, so she didn't go. But she absolutely couldn't say that now. Otherwise, it would seem like she was deliberately avoiding me. So she snorted coldly and questioned, "Then why are you here? Shouldn't you also be going to the underworld?" I was about to say I also wanted to avoid her, but saying that would make it seem like I cared about the breakup. So I just said, "I lied to you before. I never actually wanted to go there. I just wanted to come here." Song Yaoji squinted. So someone was already lying during the relationship. What a great guy. Her tone was full of sarcasm. But I was already used to it and immune. I am a great guy. Great guys like me are rare. So I dragged my suitcase and walked inside. Song Yaoji saw my movement. She was stunned and asked what I was doing coming in. I closed the door and said I lie here. I just signed a contract for 3 months. Song Yaoji was stunned. After I said that, I also realized we were both thinking the same thing. Doesn't that mean we're living together? We both gasped at the same time. I slapped my forehead, looking dazed. Song Yaoji was screaming inside. "What's going on? I have to lie under the same roof as this stinky man?" She immediately pointed at the door and said, "Why did you rent here? Go rent somewhere else." I rolled my eyes. Why should I? The rent here is $1,200 a month, not renting? That would be stupid. Give me the money, and I'll rent somewhere else. But Song Yaoji had no money. She was also broke. We spent a lot of money buying each other things when we were dating. If I gave her a gift, she would feel embarrassed. And when she felt embarrassed, she would buy me something in return. Back and forth, we both lost money. The merchants made a killing. We were pure, stupid lovers. Now she only had $1,500 left, even poorer than when she was in college, and that $1,500 had to last until next month's payday. She snorted coldly and said, "You want me to give you money? How can you have the nerve?" I shrugged after hearing that. "If you don't give it, I'll just lie here." Then I dragged my stuff towards the empty room on the right. As I passed by, I glanced at Song Yaoji's room. Her suitcase was open on the floor. Things were a mess. There were even pink and white, all kinds of underwear scattered all over the bed. I cursed in my heart. "Can't you clean up properly?" But then I thought, we weren't boyfriend and girlfriend anymore. There were some things I couldn't say. Song Yaoji sat back on the sofa, hiding her face with a pillow. "Why did you have to come here of all places? You just had to come here." After tidying up my room, I went to the living room and saw a sulking Song Yaoji. I glanced at her tightly closed bedroom door. It seemed like she had realized something. I looked at Song Yaoji and asked, "Hey, roommate, I'm going to eat. Are you coming?" Song Yaoji's pretty face was angry as she looked. "Who would want to go eat with you?" I shrugged and turned to leave. But Song Yaoji was actually a bit hungry. She couldn't help but call out to my back, "Hey, roommate, I'm going to the small restaurant too." Neither of us spoke. The atmosphere was awkward. Song Yaoji watched me start playing on my phone. She also took out her phone and unlocked it. The moment she unlocked it, she remembered. The wallpaper was a photo of us together. It was the first time we hugged. She had deleted a lot of things, but she couldn't bear to delete this photo. She thought she would never see me again in this life, so keeping it was fine. Who would have thought I would be standing right in front of her? Her face instantly turned red. She slammed her phone face down on the table. That action startled me. When When she was angry during our relationship, she would do that. It made me instinctively ask weakly, "Hey, I didn't do anything to you." But after saying that, I realized why was I scared. I wasn't her boyfriend anymore. I straightened my back again. Song Yaoji just gently tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. With a cold face, she said, my hand slipped. "None of your business." I didn't argue with her further. I continued looking down at my phone. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Song Yaoji's fair calves and sneakers. "I bought those sneakers, didn't I?" She still kept them, and Song Yaoji occasionally looked up, pretending to glance at me casually. Still the same as before, but he seemed a bit more muscular. "Has he been working out lately?" If he lifted his shirt, he might have abs. But the next second, she glanced sideways, and realized I wasn't looking at my phone. Song Yaoji blushed. "He's looking at my legs. This pervert." She couldn't help but shrink her legs and shout, "Hey, what are you doing?" I snapped back to reality. I jerked my head up, and saw Song Yaoji with her hands on her hips, glaring at me. "You were looking at my legs." "You pervert." I coughed and explained. "You misunderstood. I was looking at my phone." Song Yaoji used to show off her legs in front of me all the time, but now I couldn't even take a glance. "I clearly saw you looking. You won't even admit it." Seeing her persist, I retorted, "Even if I was looking, let me ask you, why are you still keeping the sneakers I gave you?" Song Yaoji was stunned. She looked down and realized they really were the shoes he gave her. She just felt her face burning. Before she could finish, I immediately teased, "What do you mean? Are you still hung up on me?" Song Yaoji's voice turned cold after hearing that. "You're talking." Before she could finish, 2 plates of steaming egg fried rice were placed on the table. The landlady said with a smile, "Try it. If you lie it, come again next time." The tense atmosphere was broken. We looked at each other, snorted coldly and started eating. While eating, I thought, this woman was still as unreasonable as before. Song Yaoji was also full of resentment. This man was still as ungrateful as before. At that moment, we both felt that youthful and hazy feeling from back then was gone forever. Song Yaoji's gaze gradually became firm. She clenched her fist and said to me, "Since we're already roommates, I need to set some ground rules with you." I looked up, full of confusion. Song Yaoji started counting on her fingers. "When I want to shower, you have to stay in your bedroom and not come out." I nodded. "Lie I even want to see." "It's not lie, I haven't seen it before." Second, we split the air conditioning bill. Each person uses it for the same amount of time. Set a timer for 3 hours before sleeping, then it turns off automatically. My mouth dropped open. 3 hours? It's so hot now. Aren't we going to sleep in the second half of the night? Song Yaoji cleared her throat lightly. "I actually considered you. That's why I said 3 hours. At that moment, she wasn't targeting me. She only had about $1,000 on her. If she didn't save a bit, she wouldn't make it to next month. She could ask her family for 100, but she had vowed to make her own way. Asking for money right out the door was really hard to justify. Song Yaoji thought about this and looked up, glaring at me. I was about to say something, but I felt Song Yaoji's anger, and said helplessly, "Fine, 3 hours it is. I don't have much money either. I'll save where I can." But I never expected. Song Yaoji's third rule basically treated me like I wasn't human. Third, no gaming at night. After hearing that, I directly refused. "Can't play games? What's the difference between living and dying?" Song Yaoji looked at me with slight dissatisfaction. "When you were with me, you spent every night just playing games. Are games really that fun? Can't you spend more time with me?" After saying that, she realized she was wrong. She blushed and corrected herself. "I mean, you can't play games when it's time to sleep. At most, you can play until 11. I nodded. "Fine, 11 it is. It's different from school now. If I stay up really late, being late will get my pay docked." Song Yaoji nodded with satisfaction. Then she said, "Fourth." "What? Fourth? Didn't you say 3 rules? Why is there a fourth?" Song Yaoji cleared her throat. 3 is just a figure of speech. It's not an actual number." "I get it. So you're playing word games. Underwear should be washed separately. You can't just throw everything into the washing machine." I nodded in agreement. Then I looked at her. "You've made so many requests. I should get to make a couple too." Song Yaoji tilted her head up, looking proud. "I'm clean and perfect. What requests could you have?" I chuckled and said, "No throwing clothes all over the place." Song Yaoji blushed. Remembering what happened in the afternoon, she stammered, "Of course. I won't throw them in the living room at least. You can rest assured about that." Second, no reading novels late at night. And then screaming. Song Yaoji's face turned even redder when she heard that. I knew she liked reading novels, often reading until late at night, and then sending me endless messages, dozens of them in a row. Song Yaoji put on a brave face and said, "Well, of course. I'm working now. It's different from before. I definitely won't read novels late at night anymore." After they agreed, they went home. Song Yaoji immediately found a piece of paper and tore it off. She wrote down the rules they had just discussed. 6 big rules in total, including her own. She stuck that paper on the cabinet by the entrance. She tidied up her things and decided to take a shower first, but thinking that I was right next door made her heart beat a little faster. So she walked to my room door and said through the door, "I'm going to take a shower. Put on your headphones and don't come out. You can only come out after I'm done." I shouted helplessly towards the door. "Got it. Who wants to see you anyway?" I put on my headphones. No one was playing games with me at this hour, so I just played some soft melodic, but I could still faintly hear the sound of water running in the bathroom. My mind involuntarily conjured up an image of Song Yaoji showering. Suddenly, a scream. I was startled. How did this automatic image come with sound? Then I heard a few more calls. I took off my headphones and realized it was Song Yaoji calling me. I pushed the door open and called out, "What's wrong?" "Trek the water heater. The water is cold." Song Yaoji thought about going out herself, but she had already taken off her clothes. They were all wet. She couldn't put on clean pajamas without washing. She stood in the bathroom, feeling shy and awkward. This was only the first day of living together. What was she going to do in the future? I walked into the kitchen. The water heater wasn't even turned on. I turned on the water heater and heard a clear click from it. I shouted towards the bathroom, "Try it again." Song Yaoji inside confirmed the hot water was flowing. Then she shouted back, "Go back to your room. Remember to lock the door and put on your headphones." I thought, isn't that just fooling yourself? Besides, what's there to listen to in shower sounds? I lay on the bed, looking at the unfamiliar ceiling, and sighed. What's the difference between this and an old married couple sleeping in separate rooms for 20 years? I thought about it and fell into a deep sleep. The next day, I arrived at the company. My job was as a tech engineer, including mechanical simulation, and all sorts of miscellaneous things. As a complete rookie, I basically knew nothing. I just had to follow the senior engineer and start working. Behind my workstation was a guy my age. He was also a fresh graduate, named Fu Yanxiu. We greeted each other and started the day's work. The company I joined was a well-known big corporation with relatively complete rules and regulations. There was a whole process for new hires. Even though I had just started, I already knew the art of slacking off. I knew plenty about paid toilet breaks. At the same time, Song Yaoji was sitting at her workstation in a suit. Fortunately, she and I weren't at the same company. If we were at the same company, she would have wanted to grab a train and run away overnight. We were in the same major in college, although not in the same class. We had classes together. She thought about it and remembered the days of whispering with me in class. Back then, she loved listening to me talk. My voice had a youthful quality. Listening to me was as intoxicating as drinking alcohol. What the hell? Song Yaoji rubbed her forehead and threw that strange thought away. Song Yaoji quickly turned on her computer. Sitting behind her was a woman who looked about 30, with a mature and gentle aura. This was Song Yaoji's mentor. The day passed quickly. Although it was our first day at work, and we were very tired, we still had some enthusiasm for entering the workplace. After work, we both dragged our tired bodies home. In the living room, we kept a meter's distance. On the coffee table was a red and gold square bag. Song Yaoji didn't know what it was. She glanced at it and thought it was probably a welcome gift from my company. Probably just some notebooks or pens, and maybe a cup. Song Yaoji was sizing me up in my suit out of the corner of her eye. The last time I wore a suit was for a university event. I was speaking on stage. Back then, I was youthful, energetic, and handsome. She had taken a lot of photos, although those photos were now in the recycle bin, and I was also sizing up Song Yaoji out of the corner of my eye. Her white shirt outlined her slender waist. She had a different, mature charm compared to before. The naivety of a fresh graduate and the maturity of a new professional intertwined, subtly tugging at my heartstrings. I slapped my forehead. "Song Yaoji, do you need any skincare products?" Song Yaoji made a confused sound. She wondered what kind of question that was. She definitely needed some. She only had a few old bottles left that were almost empty. Was skincare really necessary for work? She could just slap something on. She was silent for a moment, but I had seen that her toner in the bathroom was almost empty. Maybe I was overthinking it. So we fell back into silence. Our relationship was already awkward, especially in this situation. We didn't know what to talk about. I thought about retreating to my bedroom, but the living room window was wide open, and it was cooler than the bedroom. It wasn't time to turn on the air conditioner yet, but Song Yaoji broke the silence first. "How was your first day at work?" I didn't expect Song Yaoji to make small talk, so we chatted casually about our first day at work. A few minutes later, I pointed at the gift bag on the table. "This is a gift I got on my first day. It's cosmetics. See if you like them. If you do, you can use them." Song Yaoji was stunned. We both realized, as we talked, the 1 meter distance had disappeared. Just lie before, we were almost arm to arm. Song Yaoji blushed a little. For me? And I was pretending to be calm. But my heart rate had already exceeded 100. I can't use this stuff anyway. You take it, or it'll go to waste. Besides, we're roommates now. Song Yaji still waved her hand to refuse. No, I can't accept it. She thought we had broken up. Even if we hadn't, she couldn't just accept things. You're out of money, aren't you? Song Yaji had a look of being caught, and she looked up. How did you know? After she said it, she covered her mouth. I turned my head away, with an expression that said, I knew it. I knew her too well. Broke but stubborn. It was the same in school. Song Yaji once bought me a pair of Sony headphones. Cost a few thousand, and then she ate plain bread in her dorm. I only found out later. During that time, no matter how much I asked her to hang out, she wouldn't leave her dorm. Now Song Yaji was renting a shared apartment here. If it wasn't to save money, what was it for? She was just like me. Song Yaji blushed and cleared her throat. I still have money. Don't talk nonsense. I turned to look at her. How much do you have left? Song Yaji felt guilty. Her gaze drifted away. I still have quite a bit. I sighed. I really knew her well. Song Yaji turned her head, glared at me angrily, cursing in her heart. It's all because of you, you jerk. I pushed the bag towards Song Yaji. Just use it for now. If you feel bad about it, write it down. When you get paid, treat me to a meal. Song Yaji lowered her head, her face slightly red, and said, let's be clear. Even if you're helping me out for now, we're just ordinary roommates. I stood up and waved my hand, went back to my room and closed the door. Looking at my open suitcase, I crouched down. I couldn't help but gently touch the box of the over-ear headphones inside, remembering how Song Yaji had run over, her face red, and handed this to me. I sighed. Consider this me paying you back. Even though we broke up, I always felt like I owed her too much. The next morning when I got up, Song Yaji had already left. On the dining table in the living room was a pack of snacks and a note. Song Yaoji's elegant handwriting read, I don't have anything to repay you with for now. Let me treat you to some snacks. Once I get my salary, I'll treat you to a big meal. And I even drew a cute smiley face at the end. I smiled. Then I put that note away in the cabinet. Workdays always pass faster than you think. Most of the time is spent in meetings. I sit there every day, half asleep. This stuff is honestly more hypnotic than calculus class. Plus, the team leader announced a team building event this weekend. I really don't want to go at all. Isn't team building just spending a whole day, pretending to socialize with people you don't know? But Fu Yanxiu said there'd be big meals at lunch and dinner. I immediately changed my tune. I've been eating plain food for a whole week. My mouth feels so bland it's driving me crazy. I even stopped by the Malatang shop downstairs to smell it for 2 minutes. After getting home, Song Yaoji was sitting on the sofa, researching how to eat cheaply and well. Cheap and tasty. She had already changed into a white dress, with a pair of pink slippers on her feet. Her fair, delicate toes lightly pressed against the soles of the slippers. I couldn't help but glance at them twice. Then I cleared my throat and said, we have a team building event this week. Guess what we're eating? Song Yaoji turned her head and asked me, eating? What are we eating? I held up one finger in front of Song Yaoji. Listen up. Tomorrow at noon, we're having hot pot and steak buffet. Apparently, that place is especially good. The hot pot is fragrant and spicy. For dinner, there's Chinese food, braised beef and scallion cooked sea cucumber. Song Yaoji, unable to resist, gave me a look. Then she swallowed her saliva. In her heart, she cursed me for being ill-intentioned. I thought he was getting better. How annoying. But she still kept a cold face. Her voice remained icy as she said, is that so? How nigh? I didn't know what I'd done to upset Song Yaoji again. Why did she seem angry again? Song Yaoji thought about eating bread again tonight, and felt a wave of grievance inside. When will I get my salary? I asked. Don't you have a team building event? Song Yaoji shook her head, and I finally understood. No wonder she was angry. We were already in a semi-Cold War state. Our conversations were more like casual chats between roommates. It seemed like some things really didn't need to be said. I looked at Song Yaoji, who had coldly turned her head away. I walked back to my room, and started pounding my thighs repeatedly. I always speak without thinking, saying whatever I want, without caring about others' feelings. That's probably why she broke up with me. Thinking about it, I spread my arms out, and stared quietly at the ceiling. I should be more careful with my words from now on. I've been talking too much lately. I stared at the ceiling. We're just living together by chance. Once we both have money in 3 months, we'll go our separate ways. Meanwhile, in the living room, Song Yaoji felt a bit annoyed. Why did I have to put on a cold face? Am I stupid? She slapped her hands on her cheeks. It wasn't her fault she had no money. She had bought me a lot of things too. When Song Yaoji was packing, she realized many of her clothes were bought by me. He kept them all and brought them along. One reason was that she really didn't think it was necessary to throw them away. The other was that she thought she'd be far away from me, and never see me again in this life. So there was nothing to worry about. I casually chatted with her, but she couldn't help giving me a cold face. But we've broken up. I don't lie her anymore. Why am I even telling her this? Song Yaoji felt sad and wronged again. Talking about it felt like showing off. She thought about it and lay down on the sofa, then curled up her legs. Under the same roof, in different rooms, she and I were thinking different thoughts, but making almost the same pose. The sky gradually darkened. At that moment, both of us were still lying down, pondering life. Both of us were intensely reflecting and replaying things, starting from a small silence, gradually turning into memories. The 3 years we spent together. Had we said the wrong things back then too? We both silently, in our hearts, replayed all the problems from when we were together. After a little while, Song Yaji seemed to have made up her mind. She stood up, clenched her fists, and quickly walked toward my room. Just as she was about to knock on the door opened. I was thinking the same thing as Song Yaji. I also wanted to explain that I didn't mean to show off, but I didn't expect Song Yaoji to be right at the door. As soon as I opened the door, Song Yaoji lost her balance. She stumbled forward and fell into my arms. Song Yaoji let out a whimper. I reflexively reached out my hands and held Song Yaoji protectively in my arms. Song Yaoji isn't tall, only 1.6 meters, but her figure is perfectly proportioned, so she looks taller than she is. I'm exactly 1.8 meters. I caught her immediately. Song Yaoji's forehead bumped into my chest. We both froze for a moment. I was the first to react. I was still holding Song Yaoji from behind, one hand gripping her slender, soft arm. Her skin was as smooth as lard, and as soft as water. I asked worriedly, "Are you okay?" Song Yaoji felt a flash of darkness, then smelled a familiar scent, the faint fragrance coming from me. She used to love this smell, the scent of sunshine, bright and clear. She used to hold me in my arms, gently rubbing her nose against my chest, smelling it all day. Song Yaoji couldn't help it. She rubbed against me before, then took a deep breath, a look of happiness and satisfaction on her face. She looked up and met my worried gaze. Her body froze. What did I just do? Her face visibly reddened. Even her ears turned red. Her eyes filled with panic. I didn't notice Song Yaoji's sniff. I just asked again, worried, "Are you okay?" "I'm not okay," Song Yaoji screamed internally. What am I doing? I actually fell into my ex-boyfriend's arms and smelled his scent. I want to jump off a cliff. Song Yaoji, seeing my face getting closer, grew even more flustered. Her body started trembling. I thought Song Yaoji had hit her head. I shook her. I said, "Say something. What's wrong with you? Did you hit your head?" I reached out my hand and placed it on Song Yaoji's forehead. Song Yaoji froze, completely short-circuited. Her heart went from pounding wildly to stopping altogether. Then her already red face turned even redder, starting from her neck. Like a fully cooked shrimp. Steam seemed to rise from her head. My hand felt like it was on a hot plate, making a sizzling sound. I pulled my hand back and shook it lightly. It wasn't just hot, it was cooked. After 3 seconds, Song Yaoji snapped out of it. She took a half step back, stood straight, and said, I let go of my left arm holding her. What, I? Song Yaoji closed her eyes and spoke very quickly. I wasn't trying to be cold to you on purpose just now. I'm sorry. I was stunned for a moment. So that's what you wanted to talk to me about. I scratched my head. I shouldn't have given you a cold face either. Sorry. Song Yaoji clenched her hands into fists. Her mouth formed an upside-down curve. She forced her face to stay composed, trying not to look strange, even though it was already strange. All right then, I'm going to sleep. Song Yaoji turned around stiffly, then walked to her room door. With a bang, she closed the door and entered her own small room. Song Yaoji leaned against the door, feeling her heart racing. She let out a long sigh, slowly calming down. Seriously, what was I doing? I was just apologizing, but I fell into his arms, and even did that. Song Yaoji slowly sat down, right on the tiled floor, burying her bright red face. Even the moon didn't want to see it. I was standing at the door, replaying what just happened in my mind. Don't get your heart racing over such a small touch. Pathetic. I still can't help craving those warm moments. Little did I know, the girl in the next room was even more pathetic. At 7:30 a.m., I opened my eyes. It was the weekend, but I had to get up early. That's the unreasonable part of team building. I got up and started washing up quietly, looking at Song Yaoji's closed door. She was probably still sleeping in. I wonder what she'll eat today. I wanted to say, don't eat bread, but given our current relationship, Song Yaoji only has enough money for bread or instant noodles. I quietly closed the door and went to the office. A few colleagues were already waiting. My department is small, only 12 people. The section chief is Li Xingyuan. He's the one who organized this team building. We arrived at the place at 8 a.m. Team building was more fun than I expected, but when dinner came, the drinking started non-stop. Whether I knew them or not, I had a couple of drinks with everyone. I looked at the table full of dishes. Several dishes hadn't been touched. What a waste. Li Xingyuan pulled aside the new graduates and started giving life advice. A few of them held their glasses, forced to listen. The phrase I heard most from Li Xingyuan was, "If you don't drink, you're disrespecting me, and I'm the lowest level employee in the department. There are 8 bosses above me, meaning tonight, I have to respect at least 8 people. Sometimes I wonder if I'm even here to work." And Li Xingyuan has way too many ways to pressure drinking. If you can't drink, learn. If you can't handle it, just show a little respect. If you don't toast him, you're disrespecting him. If you don't finish the toast, you're also disrespecting him. There's a rule at the drinking table. The junior person's glass must be lower. I heard for every 100 yuan difference in base salary, you lower it by a centimeter. So I did my best for Li Xingyuan. I took the elevator to the basement to 6do call. On the other end of the screen, Song Yaji had been lying around at home all day. She only ordered 1 serving of malatang. If you don't move, you don't eat. Perfect logic. But her period was coming in a few days, and sanitary products are ridiculously expensive. Such a hassle. It's hot anyway. Might as well buy noodles. Song Yaji lay on the sofa, swinging her pale legs. I wonder if I had fun today. I probably ate well. Hope I ate a lot, Song Yaoji thought. But if it were before, I would probably have taken photos for her. Song Yaoji opened her phone and then remembered. She had already deleted my contact info, even though she remembered my phone number and social media accounts perfectly. She looked at the clock on the wall. It was already 9. Why isn't he back yet? A hint of worry rose in her heart. Team building always involves drinking. I hope he didn't drink too much. Just as she was thinking, she heard familiar footsteps outside the door. Then she heard me shout, "Song Yaoji." She immediately jumped up from the sofa and sprinted toward the door, then opened it. "Are you okay?" I didn't expect Song Yaoji to come so fast. She rushed straight over. I was holding several bags in my hands. The oil from one of them splashed out. My white clothes were covered in oil. Song Yaoji let out a scream. "Are you okay?" I was clearly drunk, but I chuckled and said, "It's fine, it's fine. I packed all these up. I even had the kitchen reheat them." "Have you eaten dinner? I'll put them on the table." "Have some," I said as I walked inside, then placed the dishes on the table. Then I mumbled, dazed. No one touched them. They were just drinking like crazy. I staggered toward the bathroom, leaving Song Yaoji standing there, stunned. The door was still open. The summer breeze blew in, making her skirt flutter slightly. Song Yaoji watched me rush into the bathroom. For a moment, she felt like crying. "Why do you still remember this even when you're drunk?" She closed the door, then ran to the bathroom. I was leaning against the wall. It looked like I'd had a lot to drink. Hearing the noise, I turned around, seeing Song Yaoji's figure split into 3. I mumbled, "There are 3. Song Yaoji wanted to both cry and laugh. This silly man. She held a cup of hot water and brought it to my lips, her voice gentle. "Drink some water. Don't be silly." I took it and took a sip. Feeling a bit more sober, Song Yaoji gently patted my back. I wanted to throw up but couldn't. My stomach felt bloated from all the alcohol. It was awful. Song Yaoji saw my wet clothes, quickly walked into my room, looked at my suitcase on the floor, planning to find me a change of clothes. She crouched down and saw that earphone. "What an idiot. If I gave it to you and you don't use it, what's the point?" She picked up a white t-shirt and sniffed it. Song Yaoji froze. "What am I doing? Seriously? I'm just checking if it's clean." It's clean." "That's it." Song Yaoji carried the white shirt to the bathroom, handed it to me. I took it, said thank you, then leaned against the wall again, staring blankly. Song Yaoji stepped back, closed the door, leaving just a crack, and walked out. She looked at the dishes on the table, went downstairs, bought 2 sets of chopsticks and bowls, came back, washed them, and placed them on the table. She gently knocked on the bathroom door. "Have you changed?" No response from inside. She pushed the door open. I was still holding the clothes, leaning against the wall. My face was still red. She walked up, waved her small hand in front of my face. "Still awake? Are you really okay?" Song Yaoji was a bit worried. I nodded numbly. My mind felt clear, but my body felt weak. Song Yaoji gently took my arm, led me to the living room and sat me on a chair. Then she raised my arms straight up and grabbed the hem of my shirt, pulled it off, revealing my toned upper body. Song Yaoji looked at my body, her face flushed. "He's really been working out since the breakup. 8-pack abs. I want to touch them." "No, I can't. Just helping him change clothes." "Don't overthink it." After changing my clothes, she said to me in a gentle voice, "Eat something." At that moment, I was dazed. Whatever Song Yaoji told me to do, I did, occasionally letting out a silly grin. We ate in silence. Unable to communicate, Song Yaoji just watched my silly expression with her eyes. He really hasn't changed at all. Even drunk, he remembers to bring me food. This silly man. Song Yaoji smiled, just quietly watching me. This is night 2. The next day, I woke up from the heat. Sunlight streamed through the curtains onto my head. I groggily opened my eyes and checked my phone. 11 a.m. I sat up, rubbing my aching head, trying to remember yesterday. What did I do yesterday? Drank too much. It felt like a girl touched my stomach. I held my head, thinking. I got out of bed. Looked in the mirror. Did I change clothes? I opened the door and walked out. Saw Song Yaoji already sitting on the sofa, scrolling on her phone. Probably reading one of those strong female lead novels. Song Yaoji heard me and looked up. Her face slightly red. She greeted me. Morning. You're up, I nodded. Did I bother you last night when I was drunk? I hope I didn't make a fool of myself. Song Yaoji's eyes darted, and she cleared her throat. You were really drunk last night. You came back and insisted on changing clothes. You did it yourself. It had nothing to do with me. I felt like Song Yaoji was lying. That's how she acts when she lies. Her eyes dart around, unnatural. But why would she lie? I started to worry. I really didn't do anything weird last night, did I? You didn't take any pictures of me, did you? Song Yaoji rolled her eyes. Who would want to take your picture? Don't flatter yourself. I'm not even complaining that you came back late. Alright, go take a shower. You reek of alcohol. Song Yaoji covered her nose, pretending to be disgusted. I scratched my head and walked into the bathroom, trying to remember. At that moment, Song Yaoji's face was bright red. Actually, when she helped me into bed last night, she couldn't resist touching my abs, and even took a picture. Since I don't remember, she'll just consider it interest for taking care of me. Soon it was July. The weather got even hotter. Right at this time, Song Yaoji's air conditioner broke. She sat on the sofa, helplessly fanning herself with a fan. The fan was a cheap blue plastic one from the company. I came home from work, saw Song Yaoji lying on the sofa like a dead fish. Her face said, my life is hopeless. Song Yaoji's company gets off work early. She usually gets home half an hour before me. I saw her expression, and asked, what's wrong? Did something happen at work? Song Yaoji shook her head while fanning herself. My room's AC is broken. It's not cooling. The landlord said the repairman can't come until the weekend. But today's only Wednesday. The earliest is Saturday. Song Yaoji couldn't understand. How can anyone survive summer without AC? Am I supposed to just lie in the living room with the windows open? I couldn't help but laugh. Song Yaoji turned and glared at me. I'm about to pass out from the heat, and you're laughing. So what are you going to do? I'll sleep on the sofa. The floor is high enough here. At night, with the windows open, the wind is strong. Seeing this, I blurted out without thinking. Why don't you sleep with me? Song Yaoji tilted her head, staring at me in SOC. I meant to say, sleep in my room. But remembering we broke up, being too close isn't good. The words slipped out, and I only said half of them. So it ended up like this. The air became awkward and silent. Song Yaoji's face turned bright red. She shrank into the corner of the sofa, hugged herself and pointed at me, saying, shameless. Her finger kept shaking up and down. We're broken up, and you still say things like that. You've been thinking about this all along. Song Yaoji felt her head burning. Saying sleep with me is way too direct. At least pick a better time and be gentler. No, wait, what am I thinking? I slapped my forehead. Wait, let me explain. Song Yaoji grabbed a pillow and held it in front of her, muttering, what's there to explain? So this is the kind of person you are. I really misjudged you. I quickly spoke very fast. I was asking if you wanted to sleep in my room. You're overthinking it. Song Yaoji stopped moving. Her big eyes blinked. She froze completely. Oh, that's what you meant? What was I thinking? She hugged the pillow tighter, then shrank back and said skeptically, then why did you only say half of it? If I sleep in your room, where will you sleep? I shrugged. I'll sleep in your bed or on the sofa. Song Yaoji started looking at me suspiciously again. You'll sleep in my bed? You're not planning to smell my sheets, are you? I stared at Song Yaoji in silence. What exactly do you think I am? Who would actually do something like that in real life? But someone actually would. And that someone is Song Yaoji. She turned her head and looked at the wall. Never mind. Just heat it up and it'll pass. Fanning myself, I can still fall asleep. The two of them fell into a silence. The temperature in the room kept rising. I asked, are you sure? Song Yaoji took a deep breath. He wasn't sure. After all, it was such a hot day. He probably couldn't sleep. I picked up the water glass on the table and took a sip. Then I asked in a low voice, so, we're sleeping in the same room? You really do have ulterior motives for me. Song Yaoji's first reaction was that I tricked her into a dim little room, and then started groping her. When we were dating, I almost spat out my water. Who's trying to take advantage of you? What are you always thinking about? I don't have any improper thoughts about you. But I saw Song Yaoji wearing a spaghetti strap dress, revealing her fair, delicate shoulders. Under the CU-toned living room light, she looked incredibly tempting. Her face was flushed. Her youthful, energetic hair swayed slightly, and the pillow only covered half of her, revealing half of her exquisite collarbone. Her two fair legs were slightly pressed together. She shrank back, and my heart was in turmoil. But I still said calmly, I really don't have any improper thoughts. Song Yaoji looked at me, entering a state of zen. She wondered if she was overthinking. When two people in love hug each other, it's inevitable to get caught up in desire. But before we started dating, I was still proper and respected her. That was also one of the things she liked about me, and she used to touch me a lot too. So it's hard to say who was more obsessed with whose body. I shouldn't blame you either. Song Yaoji looked at me and asked, so, how are we going to do this? I thought for a moment. I'll put my mat on the floor. You sleep on the bed. That should be fine, right? Song Yaoji nodded. So I walked into the room and started tidying up. A few minutes later, Song Yaoji, with a heave-ho, put her blanket onto my bed. At night, both of us were in our own bedding. Song Yaoji immediately pulled the covers over herself. I looked at her, thinking she was a cat. I grabbed the remote and turned on the air conditioner, turned off the light. The room was suddenly plunged into darkness. Song Yaoji lay there for a while. The air conditioner hummed. It cooled down a lot. She asked, why did you want to come find me back then? Did you want to sleep with me? I was lying on the floor, looking at my phone. Hearing this, I couldn't help but ask, what are you talking about? What back then? What sleep together? Don't get confused from sleepiness and start talking nonsense to frame me. Song Yaoji also felt her question was a bit sudden, so she explained, you know, back then, sophomore year, didn't you come find me at the hotel? You haven't forgotten, have you? I thought back. A light bulb went off in my head. Spinning around, it clicked. With a ding, I remembered. Oh, that time. Song Yaoji's head shrank further into the covers. Later, when my friends found out about it, they all said what? Song Yaoji blushed. She said quickly, they all said you wanted to sleep with me. Song Yaoji dropped that bombshell, and I was stunned. Where did you hear that from? I turned over, meeting Song Yaoji's beautiful, watery eyes. If I said no, would you believe me? Song Yaoji didn't know whether to say dead or no, but at that moment, she hesitated too. Then, blushing, she nodded. Should I not have asked that question? Song Yaoji shrank her head and asked, really, not even a tiny bit of that kind of thought? I said, annoyed. It was late at night. I was dead tired. I was just worried about you, so I rode for an hour. How could I have had any thoughts like that? Can you stop overthinking? Whoever wants your body is despicable. Oku. Song Yaoji got angry. What's wrong with my body? I've got legs, and I've got legs. Song Yaoji was so angry she was grinding her teeth. I snorted. Chest. Song Yaoji slapped the mat, and childishly turned away. I'm not talking to you anymore. Talking to you is no fun. What about my chest? It's a little small, but it's not it's not there. Obviously, when we were dating, you couldn't get enough of it, and now you're complaining. The two of them fell into silence. The room was quiet. In the darkness, each had their own thoughts. After a while, Song Yaoji whispered, so, can we run the AC for 6 hours today? I thought about splitting it. 3 hours each. I realized the problem too. I praised her. You're a genius. Then I silently pulled out the remote and changed the timer to 6 hours. 10 minutes later, both of them fell into a deep sleep with similar feelings. As Song Yaoji's alarm went off, I slowly opened my eyes. What I saw wasn't the headboard or the sunlight, but a beautiful face right in front of me. The blanket was long gone. The girl's arm was draped over me. For a moment, I was still dazed. Then I saw Song Yaoji slowly open her eyes. We looked at each other. Song Yaoji still had a trace of morning confusion. Her hand was even on my face, gently stroking. She even moved her body closer. Her face got even closer, and she smiled. Morning, babe. My brain short-circuited. I was awake, but Song Yaoji seemed not to be. I watched Song Yaoji gradually lean in, feeling the softness of her body against mine, and her tender, watery eyes. My heart started pounding. Then I saw Song Yaoji slowly lean in, as if she was going to kiss me. She slowly closed her eyes. Her glistening red lips looked so tempting. Then Song Yaoji's arm wrapped around my neck. She leaned in even closer. I stayed there, frozen. The summer sunlight was just right. The room still held a hint of coolness. It felt so pleasant. The next second, our lips met. I stopped thinking. The soft lips I had once craved so much were now back on mine. Just then, the alarm went off again. Song Yaoji let go of my neck and rolled over. Her hand fumbled on the mat. Realizing the sound came from the bed, she sat up with messy hair. Her eyes hazy, she searched. She finally found her phone. Song Yaoji's consciousness slowly returned. She realized, I'm not a college student anymore. I'm a working adult. Her mind cleared up. Then she turned to look at me, then at her phone. Then she turned back to look at me. The next second, Song Yaoji let out a scream. At the sink, they both brushed their teeth vigorously. Song Yaoji said angrily, unbelievable. Some people actually took advantage of me when I wasn't clear-headed, and did something like that. I protested loudly. You were the one who came to my bed. Song Yaoji blushed. I must have rolled off. And you actually kissed your ex-girlfriend. You have no boundaries. I also filled a cup of water. You were the one who kissed me. Song Yaoji blushed even more. She lowered her head and rinsed her mouth, saying, "Couldn't you have pushed me away? You know I'm sometimes groggy in the morning. You did it on purpose." I coughed lightly. It happened too suddenly. I didn't react in time. Besides, you kissed me. How can you blame me? You're so passive, a man who doesn't know how to say no. It drives me crazy. If any girl throws herself at you, you'll just catch her, won't you? And then say it's not your fault, that she was the one who initiated it. That's not true at all. Don't talk nonsense. You said that girl hugged me before. I told you she didn't. I pushed her away. That was just a visual illusion. You're doing it again. But wasn't it the same before we started dating? When I hugged you, you didn't refuse. And now it's the same. Why can't you just push people away? She's your ex-girlfriend, and you still don't refuse. The next second, I blurted out, "But you're different." After I said that, our eyes met, both of us breathing heavily. The air fell silent. Song Yaoji was stunned for a moment. "I'm different. What does that mean?" Her face felt hot. She didn't dare to look me in the eye. She silently turned her head, looking at her messy hair in the mirror, and her flushed cheeks. She took a sip of water and spat it out. Asked, "What do you mean?" I also spat out the mouthwash, and stammered, "I mean, before we started dating, I already liked you." Song Yaji heard my words, blushed, lowered her head, and finished brushing her teeth. Neither of them brought up the morning again. Song Yaji finished getting ready, changed clothes, grabbed her bag, and headed out. At the door, she turned around. With a fierce expression, she said, "Forget about this morning." Of course I forgot. Ji Yanlin. Fu Yanxiu patted my shoulder hard. Ji Yanlin. Ji Yanlin. I snapped back to reality and looked at him. "What's up?" Fu Yanxiu had a worried look on his face. "Are you okay? I called you several times. You didn't answer." I coughed twice and explained. "I was thinking about the project. Got a bit lost in thought." Project equals Song Yaoji. Sigh, she just affects my work efficiency. I'm just in the process of forgetting. He even called me babe and kissed me. How cute, how ridiculous. It was just an action done in a moment of confusion. Does that mean subconsciously, he hasn't broken up with me? Or subconsciously, he wants to get back together? Maybe he's always been like this. Don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. At the same time, Song Yaoji was staring blankly at her screen in the office. I actually kissed Ji Yanlin, and I was the one who initiated it. Kill me now. Song Yaji thought about it, and really wanted to find a crack in the ground, and just crawl right in. But the feeling of that morning kiss still lingered in her mind, haunting her. The kiss after months apart made it even more unforgettable and vivid for her. And my words, "You're different," did that just refer to when we were dating? Or does it include now? Song Yaoji couldn't figure it out. Zhang Yuding just came back from the water cooler. She put a pack of cookies on Song Yaoji's desk, then patted her shoulder and said, "Young people need to be moderate." Song Yaoji blushed, and immediately started explaining frantically. No, it's not like that. I didn't do anything. It's not what you think, Sister Zhang." Zhang Yuding just nodded. So easy to read. This girl is so cute. She went back to her seat, leaving Song Yaoji there, lost in thought. Song Yaoji held her burning face. What do I do? It's only Thursday. I have to sleep with him for at least 2 more nights. Song Yaji dragged her tired body home, threw her white backpack onto the chair in the living room, then collapsed onto the sofa. I was already sitting on the sofa next to her. It was rare for me to get home before her. Song Yaji didn't have the energy to look at me, just stared at the ceiling. "Why are you home so early today?" I answered. "I'm not working overtime tonight." I was looking at my phone, but my peripheral vision was on Song Yaji. Seeing Song Yaji's little face, the events of the morning would come flooding back to me. Along with the past of us kissing constantly, the past of us hugging each other, the past of us whispering sweet nothings, all of it came flooding back to my mind. Things lie, I lie you, I really lie you, I want to be with you forever. Whether romantic or cheesy lines, all of them surfaced in my mind. Actually, sometimes I also think that being together forever, that kind of talk is completely unrealistic. But back then, whether saying it or hearing it, we both genuinely hoped for it, holding beautiful hopes for the future. Maybe precisely because it was too naive. That's why we eventually ended up going our separate ways. I still remember the first time I kissed Song Yaoji. It was at the beginning of sophomore year. After that time I went to find her. Our relationship made a huge leap forward. It was a golden October, with a drizzling rain pattering on the leaves. That day, Song Yaoji was wearing a white dress, with a black knit cardigan over it, and a pair of black leather shoes. I almost shouted out loud. She looked absolutely gorgeous. That day, we had just finished our date. I remember it very clearly. We went to a cat cafe. Song Yaoji had a great time playing with the cats. She seemed to have a high affinity for them. But we had a small argument right after dinner. The argument was about when I was playing basketball. A girl gave me a lop letter, and I said a guy also gave her a lop letter. Anyway, it wasn't really a fight, but we were both a bit stubborn. again. So we walked back to school like that. But on the way, we got caught in the rain. The rain poured down. It went from a drizzle to a downpour. So I opened my shirt to shield Song Yaoji as we walked to the dorm. We ran and shouted in the rain. Song Yaoji's hair was wet. Her clothes were sticking to her. She looked completely disheveled, but I thought she was so cute. Song Yaoji shouted, "Why didn't you refuse?" I shouted back, "I did refuse." Song Yaoji started shouting again, "But you already have me." Song Yaoji felt so wronged, but that's how new couples are. Always getting jealous over the strangest things. I shouted, "I'll only ever lop you in this life, I swear." "And what about that lop letter from that guy?" I threw it in the trash right away, and we made up. Then, when we got to the dormitory building, the rain was still pattering on the leaves. I shouted to Song Yaoji, "Go on back." Song Yaoji just looked at me. Her watery eyes were both hazy and passionate in the rain. Raindrops slid down her face. My heart skipped a beat. Song Yaoji asked me, "How much do you lie me?" I said, "I lie you the most. Only you, no one else." "Hey, it was just a lop letter. It's not lie I wrote it to someone else." Song Yaoji pursed her lips and looked at me. "If you lie me, why haven't you kissed me?" We hadn't kissed yet at that point. We had only held hands. I thought, I want to kiss you, but I don't have the guts. So I stammered an explanation. "Actually, I've wanted to kiss you for a long time, but I didn't want you to think I'm some kind of pervert. I don't want you to hate me, you understand?" Song Yaoji's face then broke into a het pie smile. She took a step forward. Her little black shoes stepped into a puddle, splashing up a bit of water. "I'll kiss you." Her voice was soft and gentle, echoing in my ears. The rain kept falling. All I could hear was the rain, the sound of rain on the leaves, the sound of rain in the puddles, and the sound on the bike shed roof, dripping and pattering without end. Then Song Yaoji hugged me, gently stood on her tiptoes, blushed, and kissed me. Her soft lips met mine. For a moment, I felt like the sun had risen and set. The world had gone through several cycles. That incredible feeling. I'll never forget it for the rest of my life. In front of me was Song Yaoji's adorable face, and behind her, the rain lay silver threads. The banana leaves swayed gently in front of the dorm. Everything was so beautiful. Thinking back now, it was silly, kissing in the rain. But I also think it was incredibly romantic. Damn romantic. Of course, we both caught colds afterwards. I don't know why I thought of that scene again now. Looking at Song Yaoji's profile, Song Yaoji, having lain there like a lazy fish, turned over and sat up to look at me. She cleared her throat. "Tonight, I'm still sleeping in your room." I made a non-committal sound. Song Yaoji made an X with her hands. "No touching me, or I'll report you," I said, annoyed. "Maybe it's your bad sleeping posture. You rolled all the way to my spot, and then you were the one who initiated it." Song Yaoji blushed, a look of embarrassment on her face. It's because the bed is too high. I'm going to set up defenses tonight, and we agreed not to talk about this morning. You obviously haven't forgotten." I turned my head away. "I've already forgotten." Song Yaoji snorted, crossed her arms in front of her, looked down at me and said, "Surely no one is still hung up on kissing me, right?" She hit the nail on the head, but I turned my head and said, "How is that possible? I've kissed you so many times. Just one morning kiss. It's not enough to be hung up on." I went on the offensive. "But someone seems pretty flustered, don't they?" Song Yaoji felt her face burning. "What is this jerk saying? What does he mean by kissed so many times?" "Okay, fine. We did kiss a lot." "Damn it." Song Yaoji stomped her foot, turned around and walked towards my room. "I'm going to set up my defenses. I am definitely not falling off tonight." I watched Song Yaoji walk away, wondering what she was going to do. When I saw what Song Yaoji had set up, I was stunned. So her defenses were just putting stuffed animals by the bed. It was a long, green plush toy, and a dinosaur plush. I looked at Song Yaoji, who was lying in bed in her pajamas, reading a novel. "Do you think that's going to stop you?" Song Yaoji shook her head. "Honestly, I don't think so." I picked up a dinosaur plush by its foot. "Then what's the point of putting them there?" Song Yaoji cleared her throat. "But I don't have anything else to put there, do I?" She was acting like an elementary school kid arguing, putting an eraser and a pencil on the desk. It only keeps honest people honest. I also lay down on my mat. It was 11 p.m. About time to sleep. Song Yaoji seemed to remember something, and suddenly asked, "Why haven't you been playing games lately?" I said, "No one to play with." Actually, it was because Song Yaoji was resting in my room. I was afraid that if I played, I'd disturb her. And sometimes, when I get into a game, I definitely curse. I didn't want Song Yaoji to see that side of me, the side that curses. Song Yaoji didn't think much of it. Instead, she put her hand on the bedside lamp. "We should sleep now." The air conditioner was on. The breeze was just right. It was time to sleep. "Come on, Song Yaoji, sleep well tonight. You definitely won't fall off the bed." I nodded. "Yeah, don't roll off again. If you roll off again, it's definitely because you have ulterior motives for me." Song Yaoji clicked her tongue. "Ulterior motives for you? Dream on. Besides the fact that you feel nigh to touch, I have zero interest in you." Song Yaoji raised 4 fingers and said firmly, I swear, if I fall off the bed again, I'm a dog. The next morning, I opened my eyes and saw Song Yaoji in front of me, half asleep. Her limbs were sprawled out like they were barely domesticated, spreading out in 4 directions. Then he turned over. His hand slapped his own face, making a sound. It's hard not to suspect he did it on purpose. After a while, Song Yaoji finally opened her eyes. Those beautiful almond eyes were full of affection. Morning, I said coldly. Song Yaoji, you're a puppy. Song Yaoji was still groggy, tilting her head. Then half closing her eyes, she let out a soft moan. Woof. You actually called your ex-girlfriend a puppy? Are you a man? You're so perverted. The two stood in front of the sink brushing their teeth. Song Yaoji grumbled while brushing. Her eyes had already glared at me 1,000 times. I finally calmed down this time. You said it yourself. If you fall off again, you're a puppy. I'm just repeating what you said. You definitely did it on purpose. Song Yaoji sniffled. How could I have done it on purpose? Who would deliberately roll into your bed? Wah, my innocence is ruined. I glanced at her sideways. You have innocence? Song Yaoji snorted coldly and turned her head away. Anyway, you've hit a new low in my book. Saying something like that to your ex-girlfriend. You're definitely a pervert. A scumbag. So perverted. I waved my hand. No, don't talk nonsense. Don't slander me. Seriously. Song Yaoji left with a piece of bread in her mouth, then mumbled indistinctly. Ji Yanlin, forget about this morning. I felt a bit helpless. Have I been forgetting too many things lately? It's Friday. I wonder if the AC repair guy came. I got home from work at 10. When Song Yaoji saw me, it was like seeing a zombie. Song Yaoji screamed twice, then quickly retreated behind the curtains, hiding herself. I collapsed directly onto the sofa. Song Yaoji looked at the fallen figure, recognized it was me, snapped back to reality and called out, Ji Yanlin. I responded weakly. Song Yaoji shuffled a little forward, moved out from behind the curtain and asked, what's wrong with you? My head buried in the sofa, my voice muffled. Overtime work is too tiring. It's killing me. Song Yaoji chuckled, sat down next to me. That tired? Want me to give you a massage? I jerked my head up. You're being so nice. You're not going to charge me, are you? My first thought was that Song Yaoji was broke and trying to scam money from me. Song Yaoji snorted in dissatisfaction. Am I the kind of woman who's money hungry and only sees money? Debt. No. Really not charging me? No charge. In return for letting you sleep in my room these past 2 days, and for you bringing me food before, and giving me skincare products, I, the generous lady, will give you a free massage. That's great. I'm so grateful. Let's move to the bed. I'll massage you. This position is really inconvenient. Song Yaoji thought for a moment and said. I immediately got motivated, jumped up from the sofa, then lay down nicely on the bed. Song Yaoji also came into the room, first turned on the air conditioner, then with a heave-ho, climbed onto the bed. She sat directly on my back, her 2 hands propping up on my back. At that moment, she wasn't thinking much, just about massaging my back, to relieve my fatigue. But I was thinking a lot more. Originally, there was nothing to it, but as soon as Song Yaoji sat on me, that soft touch pressed against my back. Song Yaoji's voice was cheerful. So I'm massaging you. How does it feel? Song Yaoji's 2 soft little hands pressed on my back, like a kitten kneading. She kept making heave-ho sounds, providing her own sound effects. My head was buried, so I couldn't see her expression, but I could imagine her cheerful look. Help! Does she have to be this cute? Do you know how high your lethality is? I really have no resistance to these little details of Song Yaoji. I buried my head completely, but Song Yaoji had a bit of a vengeful streak. Serves you right for being mean to me. Song Yaoji tapped on my back, then asked in a sweet voice, how's it going, customer? Comfortable? I've already ascended to heaven. Not just comfortable, it's absolutely amazing. Although Song Yaoji's strength wasn't great, the feeling of being massaged by someone was just too good. Song Yaoji had other thoughts. She found the texture of my suit jacket fascinating. What are you doing? Song Yaoji shook her head. I'm just massaging Ji Yanlin. But she did really lie the way I looked in a suit. Straight trousers, long legs, plus the way I fixed my cuff buttons in front of the mirror every morning. Really handsome. I want to be held in his arms like this. I didn't know what Song Yaoji was thinking. I just felt her technique was really good, and this wasn't the first time she'd massaged me. Song Yaoji seemed to really enjoy massaging my shoulders. At the coffee shop, the 2 of us sat in a small booth. Song Yaoji massaged my shoulders, relieving my fatigue. Her fingertips were very soft and light. Her hands were also very soft. I really liked that feeling. Felt like the fatigue of the whole day disappeared. Song Yaoji hummed and laughed. I'm so amazing. Clearly, I'm this amazing, but some people don't know how to appreciate it. Ji Yanlin, you'll regret it. See if you ever find a girlfriend as good as me again. I retorted. How did I not appreciate it? It wasn't me who suggested we break up. Song Yaoji bit her lip lightly. it wasn't you who suggested it, but it was your fault. The two of them started bickering like elementary school kids. After a couple of rounds, they felt it was pointless. Then both shut up. After a while, I asked, since you hate me so much, why are you still massaging me? Song Yaoji thought to herself, I never said I hated you. But hating and continuing this relationship were two different things. Her right hand pressed on my neck, needing it. I'm just repaying a favor. I hate owing people favors, but I didn't really lie that favor talk. Everything was a favor. That kind of talk is fine between strangers, but saying that between acquaintances only makes me feel distant. Are we really that distant? Do we need to calculate everything so clearly? Can those things even be calculated? I said, I see. Then it's almost paid off. That's enough. Thank you. I'm going to take a shower. Song Yaoji didn't know why. My tone suddenly turned much colder. She pouted and got off me. What the heck? I kindly helped you massage. And you use that tone? No good deed goes unpunished. I turned over, looking at Song Yaoji sitting on the bed. Our faces were very close. I studied her face. Her little mouth was pouted into an upside-down V. Then she lifted her chin and said, What? You don't agree? I stared at her and asked, I've been wanting to know. Why do you always say you want to repay a favor? Song Yaoji didn't understand what kind of question that was. A favor is a favor, but it feels very distant. We're clearly lovers. Then I felt like I was making a big deal out of nothing. Waved my hand. Forget it. Anyway, it's all in the past. I turned to open my suitcase, then suddenly turned my head and said, You go out first. I need to get my change of clothes. Song Yaoji walked out with a sulky face. The hot air rushed in immediately. Instantly, that see-you feeling disappeared. It's really hot outside. That ungrateful Ji Yanlin. What does he mean? But even between lovers, you should be a bit careful. Otherwise, you'll be hated, right? But it seems like I'm already hated now. I opened the door, came out holding my change of clothes. Go rest inside. Song Yaoji didn't answer, tossed her head and walked in. At night, Song Yaoji lay on the bed. I lay on the straw mat and called out to her. You absolutely cannot fall off again tonight. Song Yaoji suddenly sat up and said, I've thought of a brilliant idea. I tilted my head and looked at her. What idea? Song Yaoji raised a finger in front of her and said, You can just tie me up. That way, I definitely won't move around at night. I tilted my head. What kind of brilliant idea is that? Are you serious? But Song Yaoji quickly jumped off the bed, landing perfectly like a gymnast. Then she slid the door open with a whoosh, rushed into her own room, making a sound of rummaging through things, a clattering noise. I couldn't even imagine what Song Yaoji's room looked like now. Song Yaoji quickly rushed back, holding several cloth straps in her hands. I don't know where they came from. They looked like they were taken off some clothes. She waved at me, and I stood up. Song Yaoji handed the straps to me and said, Tie me up. I wanted to say, Are you serious? But looking at Song Yaoji's eyes, I really couldn't refuse. Song Yaoji then lay down on the bed. Her white dress spread out on the bed, revealing her fair knees and calves. Her two lotus root-like little hands were put together. She waved at me. Come on. I coughed lightly and also climbed onto the bed, moved to the side of Song Yaoji's legs. So I'm tying you up? Really tying you up? I always feel the atmosphere is really strange right now. Calm down, Ji Yanlin. We're just doing normal things, not anything weird. Is this really normal? Normal, just to prevent Song Yaoji from falling off the bed in the middle of the night. Song Yaoji nodded. Try it first. I looked at Song Yaoji's fair feet, slowly reached out my hand, grabbed one of her ankles. Song Yaoji's face instantly turned red, let out a soft moan. She sat up a bit and shouted in a panic. Ji Yanlin, what are you doing? This pervert. He touched my ankle. It's so ticklish. I also explained a bit flusteredly. I'm tying you up, aren't I? Song Yaoji looked at me skeptically. The redness on her face hadn't faded. Is this how you tie someone up? You don't have to hold my foot and not let go. I turned my head and replied, Don't I have to secure you? Oh, I see. Song Yaoji thought what I said made some sense, but she still felt something was off, just nodded and said in a quieter voice, Then be gentle. I threaded the cloth strap through Song Yaoji's ankle, then brought her two little feet together. My tying method was very standard. First, I wrapped one foot in a loop, but didn't tie it tight, because if tied too tight, it might affect blood circulation later, which is harmful to the body. Finally, I tied the two ankles together. This way, without tying it tight, I still restricted Song Yaoji's movement. Song Yaoji watched my movements, gentle, focused, and meticulous, and felt her face get hot. After I finished tying, she shook her 2 feet. Couldn't help but say, You seem pretty good at tying, I said. Thanks. Song Yaoji looked at me with a bit of vigilance. I'm not complimenting you. You're too good at tying. It actually makes me a bit scared. You didn't secretly learn this before, did you? I answered firmly. No, absolutely not. Impossible. Song Yaoji covered herself with her hands, shrank back a little. You didn't secretly learn this while we were dating, did you? You actually have such perverted thoughts. So scary. To protect my innocence, I said without changing my expression. This is just some survival skills. You're overthinking it. I slowly moved to the side of Song Yaoji's upper body. Oh, put out your hands. Song Yaoji turned her head away, muttering under her breath. Survival skills. I don't believe it. I skillfully brought Song Yaoji's two hands together. Said, done. I looked at Song Yaoji's appearance. Her limbs were all tied up. Her body slightly curled up. Her face flushed. It actually gave me a strange feeling, especially Song Yaoji's watery eyes, with mist and confusion in them, and so on. I slapped my forehead before reason burned away, turned off the light, then got off the bed to sleep. Song Yaoji looked at the darkness in front of her and shook her hand. Slowly saw herself in the dark. Those two hands tied together. Seriously, tying so well. It's hard not to suspect you have a side job. Watching me tie her up gently and meticulously, Song Yaoji didn't find it annoying. Instead, she kind of wanted to. Just look at my profile like this. Some other scenes